Coming up on show 719, a BMW scared of Tesla. The iX3 is not coming to the US. Stick around, we'll tell you more. Plus, talking about Tesla's Track Mode V2, Lucid's new sales and service model, some specs for the VW ID3, Volvo's new battery assembly line, and LG Chem buying more space to actually make the cells into batteries. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. In fact, wherever you're listening around the world, welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for Saturday, 7th of March. My name is Martyn Lee. I've been through every EV story, so you don't have to. Thank you to myev.com for helping me produce this show and getting it on the air every single day. Check them out. Totally free marketplace. They're building in the US at myev.com. And talking of amazing businesses in the US, Bill owns several. Now, Bill Woosty is a long-time listener of the podcast and now a new premium partner. And Bill, thank you so much for all of your support, now financially, of course, but also your words of encouragement via email. I had a note from Bill, which I did ask his permission if I could read out to you, and he said yes, of course. So Bill sent me this. I am the owner of 2 dealerships in Cincinnati, and that just became sponsors of your great show. Besides Porsche and Audi, I also have Toyota, Honda, Maserati, Alfa Romeo and Volvo. My first EV is my Audi E-Tron, and I love it. We just received our first Taycan for customers to be test driving this month. And by the way, you did a story last year about free EV parking in the city of Cincinnati. I went and got my pass. I wouldn't have known about it without being a listener of your podcast. Well, thank you, Bill, for your note, your support, and new premium partners to bring you this podcast. Porsche of the Village, Cincinnati, and a new premium partner, Audi of Cincinnati East. Thank you very much, Bill, for your kind support. And purely coincidentally, we kick off with a podcast story today about the Audi E-Tron, the 2021 Audi E-Tron GT. Now, this is the GT version of the Audi E-Tron built on the Porsche Taycan's platform. Despite having seen the concept over a year ago in LA and even driving it, it's a bit surprising that this is the first time one of the Autoblog spy photographers caught a glimpse of the Audi E-Tron GT out in the wild, and covered in camouflage, of course, says Joel at Autoblog. Just like the show car, the E-Tron GT is super low from its nose to its roof. Conventional pull-style door handles are fitted rather than the hidden ones on the concept car, but that's no biggie. Concept cars always change from when we first see them to the one that you end up buying, and the nearly flush ones on the Audi E-Tron GT's cousin, the Porsche Taycan, are slightly different to those as well. The hood no longer has an extractor vent, though the shape is roughly intact, and the front fascia looks smoothed over too, with smaller grille openings. The wheels, of course, are a bit smaller, and they have more of a flat look and a more aerodynamic design. It will also feature the Taycan's platform. They're building the Audi E-Tron GT on the architecture of the Taycan, so long-time listeners know that means 800-volt charging, which is double that, roughly-ish, of most other EVs. The charging capacity will be extremely fast recharges. I believe the theoretical max 350. The fastest Taycan charging in the wild, about 270 kilowatts. I think that will be updated in the future with a software update, but look, that is nothing to sneeze at. And great news that the Audi E-Tron is progressing. Well, Tesla started rolling out its software that includes Track Mode V2 for the Model 3. As long as you have Model 3 Performance, this is the thing that will go to everybody who owns that car. Also, in this software, third-party charging stations are beginning to be listed. Improvements to the Model S and the Model X regen and other features, reports Teslarati. Well, let's kick off with Track Mode V2. That gives Model 3 owners the option of customizing the settings. As long as you've got Model 3 Performance version, handling, balance, you can change. Stability assist, you can adjust. Regen braking, the strength of it, you can manually adjust, and among others. Tesla Raj on YouTube, one of those to get the software update and make a video of his Track Mode V2 on his Model 3 and switched the car to rear-wheel drive and turned off all stability assist. Brave boy. Track Mode allows owners to create 20 profiles that perfectly suits their preferences and driving scenarios. Well, users can also customize the settings for a specific track, and Track Mode V2 allows you to monitor in real time the status and temperature of things like the electric motors, The brakes, the tyres, and the latest firmware allows you to see a real-time accelerometer like a G-meter. Likewise, the map now includes a lap timer. You can drop a pin for the start-finish line, and Model 3 owners can also save the video from the cameras and other data to comb through it later to see how you did. From Tesla themselves, they say that on the Model S and the Model X, there's a new navigation system with improved routes and more accurate arrival times, a more responsive instrument cluster to view upcoming maneuvers. In China, this new software release updates maps on the touchscreen. You can now view the maps in satellite view and nearby points of interest. There's driving visualization improvements for everybody. It's added more regions, not just the US. You can now see stoplights, stop signs, select road markings, and that is no mean feat because it's one thing to do it in the US, but imagine all the different permutations and variations of what road signs look like, even traffic lights. Again, when I've been on a holiday to the US, and maybe this isn't everywhere, but my impression is that most of the stoplights kind of hang on a cable over, whereas here, we don't do that. Like, maybe we'll have them on in some big junctions, they can be high up, but nearly always they're on a post, like a lamppost next to the ground. And so even that, imagine every country in the world having their own version of signs and lights. It must be mind-bogglingly complex, but they are rolling out more versions around the world for these kind of things. Third-party charging stations has been something that select countries in Europe just turned on, then California, and now you can find third-party charging stations with your in-car nav. San Francisco is now available. More US regions coming soon as well. Not just superchargers, you can see the others. Regen in Model S and Model X. The force has been increased to improve the driving experience, and how much energy is actively returned to the battery when slowing down. Your S and your X can now be more aggressive on regen with this software update, and I believe the software update you need to look out for is 2020.8.1. I think that's what you're looking for anyway. I'll pop a link to Teslarati in the show notes, and if you have a Tesla, by the way, and you've updated your software, I always love to hear your thoughts, your impressions. You can email me anytime about any story, any feedback. My address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. Lucid Motors will open its first sales studio at its headquarters in Newark, California. As part of its overarching direct-to-consumer sales plan, well, Lucid has plans for 9 studios initially, with many locations under construction already, says Kyle at Clean Technica. He says the new showrooms are going to give Lucid direct access to consumers to truly convey the essence of the technology in their cars, the innovation in the cars, and the luxury that they want to get across. The first 9 studios will open this year before the end of the year. Customers can get what is perhaps their first exposure to the Lucid brand in real life. The new studios will serve as home of Lucid's first service centres as well, and the company expects to leverage the integrated vehicle data system for over-the-air updates and remote diagnostics, and the physical locations will fill the gaps for all other service required for Lucid's vehicles. Another car getting more attention today is the VW ID3, and more specs have hit the internet, and actually some names for the different levels of trim. Kicking off, there's the ID3 Pure. Now, they have announced a 45 kilowatt-hour battery, which is not going to blow anyone away, but it's a small, light battery, and look, EVs are all about use case. I always try to remind you and anyone I talk to, EVs are about use case. If you need 45 kilowatt hours and you never do long journeys, and even then it's got fast charging, why would you spend more money and carry around more weight if you don't need it? And it's fine if you do. It's got 126 or 150 horsepower. You've got 2 options there on the base model. It'll do 330 kilometers of range on WLTP, and it'll cost less than 30,000 euros. In the middle of the lineup is the ID3 Pro. That has a battery size of 58 kilowatt hours. Again, 2 options of motors on this, 146 or 204 horsepower. It'll do 420 miles on the European test cycle, cost around 35,000 euros, and that one will charge at 100 kilowatt charge speeds. I wonder why the base model, the Pure, doesn't charge so quickly. Now, that could be because of the pack size. It simply could be that the battery pack is so small they can't throw that much current into it all at the same time. Top level, ID3 Pro S. That's got 204 horsepower, 550 kilometres on the European test cycle. Now you're talking. The price, though, is still TBC, and again, it'll charge at 100 kilowatts. Fantastic news there. To get more details about the VW ID3. Good news as well about how many cars are being sold at the moment in the UK. Plug-in electric car sales here increased last month in February by 117%. Yes, you heard me correctly, year over year. 4,566 new registrations exceeding conventional hybrids for the first time, or maybe for the first time in a long time. Cars with plug sockets on outsold cars without plug sockets on. 4,154 hybrids. Says Inside EV's overall number of new registrations went down, of course, because no one's buying a diesel anymore, and even petrol cars are suffering. Market share for plug-ins now 5.74 in the UK. That's 1 in every 17.4 cars, in case you were wondering. So pure electric vehicles, 2,500 sold, market share of over 3%. Plug-in hybrids, 2,000 sold, market share of 2.5%, a total of just over 4,500 cars with plug sockets on, and a market share of almost 6% in the UK. In the comments section of Inside EVs, David Parker says that as a Brit living in France, he wants to point out how far behind he thinks Brits are. UK and France, similar populations, similar GDP, similar car markets, not exactly the same. UK sales are up to on 2019, but so about 6,500 BEVs sold so far. But in France, 20,000 BEVs sold in France so far. Yeah, that's true actually, and you know why? The Renault Zoe has a new ZE50 model, and the French just love their domestic EV. They can't get enough of them, and of course, Model 3's been selling pretty well as well. Volvo has inaugurated a new battery assembly line at its Belgian manufacturing plant in Ghent. In Belgium, says Car Scoops, Volvo says the updated Ghent factory is going to provide important lessons to the brand's other manufacturing sites in terms of the process optimization and the efficiency of making batteries as well. Volvo will source its batteries from CATL of China and South Korea's LG Chem. The company's first all-electric model, at least for Volvo, ignoring Polestar for now, was unveiled in October last year. It's the XC40 Recharge. That is a really nice car. The SUV uses a twin electric motor system, 402 brake horsepower, 78 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, 250 miles, which is 400 kilometers on the European test cycle. It's a car that we have our eyes on, not that we are in the market to go and buy a brand new Volvo. As you know, we're weirdos. We pay cash for cars. It's why we never have the nicest car on our streets. But at least I know that the car that is sitting there is ours. But like I say, that makes us reasonably outliers because, again, the way that most cars are purchased in many countries now is things like monthly payments and finance agreements. And many people who want an EV actually prefer that because it hedges against technology increasing. If you think about getting an EV now, in 3 years' time, like the pace of change is so fast, lots of people go, you know, look what, I'd rather lease or long-term rent or PCP my EV because I know what, it's my fixed monthly cost, and at the end of that, give the car back because the tech in 3 years is going to have moved on so much, and I totally understand that point of view. Automotive News Europe pointed out that Volvo's Ghent plant boss, Stefan Fesser, promised a flawless launch. That was the quote. That was the two words he used. Flawless launch of a battery system production at the new 5,000 square metre facility, which is on the same campus as Volvo's vehicle assembly plant. Volvo's new model launch manager, Peter Jury, also chimed in and said there'd be no indication yet of LG Chem having any supply issues at the factory. They start test production Monday 9th of March, and the aim is to have the line ready for serial output of the new XC40 when they start production. When that is, I need to research. Talking of LG Chem, and LG Chem is operating a huge lithium-ion battery facility in Poland, and they recently acquired a nearby Turkish television assembly plant. No, LG Chem aren't getting into the TV business, says Inside EVs. It's a 223,000 square metre site, and they just bought it for $31 million equivalent, and according to media reports, it'll be quickly repurposed and supporting LG Chem's battery production for electric cars. LG Chem already operates several plants plants globally and is in the process of expanding them as well, or adding new ones like here in Turkey. And they're doing that to keep pace with the surging demand of EVs. Currently, LG Chem has 5 battery plants in South Korea, China, the United States and Poland. A combined capacity of LG is around 70 gigawatt hours a year, I believe. The South Korean chemical giant plans to raise their capacity to 100 gigawatt hours, and that'll supply batteries to, well, it's hard because every EV has a different pack size, about 1.5 million EVs by the end of the year. Every year, says Inside EVs. Here's the headline story of today's podcast. The BMW iX3, made by a joint venture between BMW and their joint venture in China, features the 5th generation of BMW's electric technology, and it's what's going to be in the iX3, the iNext. We're looking forward to it. It's a new drive unit, and it combines the electric motor, the system's electronics, and the transmission all in one central housing. It reduces weight and the footprint, says Automotive News. Here is the less good news. BMW has decided to ice its plans. Ice, no, not in terms of internal combustion engine, but put on ice plans to release the iX3, the electric crossover, in the US, at least for now. The BMW iX3 was scheduled to arrive in the first half of next year. This time next year, in the US, should have been getting your iX3, however, and that was confirmed even until recently. At this time, we do not have plans to bring the iX3 to the US market, a spokesman told Automotive News, declining to elaborate on the reasons. You see, automakers are currently facing hefty fines here in Europe if they fail to cut their fleet CO2 emissions to an average of 95 grams per kilometre. As a result, many automakers are moving their cars around the world to try and reduce any potential fines from Europe. And look, they've known it's been coming for a long time, so don't feel like, because some of them say, oh, well, you know, we didn't know this, there'd be this issue, and everybody knew. So they've had a long time to plan for this. Some of the car makers, like, well, actually the Kia and the Hyundais, have not sold as many in their domestic market recently because they've been piling them all into Europe. And another example is BMW on this story. They're diverting production supply to markets that are also receptive to this new technology. Manufactured in China, the iX3 is a car that will be made in China and then exported to other markets. We talk about this a lot. Do you even care if your EV is made in China? It's where your iPhone is made. Do you care if your car is made there? It's made by BMW. Do you care that there's not a German making it rather than a Chinese person? Well, the iX3 will all be made in China and exported, but just not to the US. It's got a 74 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery, and although that sounds big enough, it's smaller than the beefier batteries in some of the other luxury electric crossovers currently on US roads. And with 74 kilowatt hours, what with, I imagine, their efficiency being a little bit off of some of the clever stuff that Tesla have been doing lately with the Model Y, I can see the headlines now. The iX3 has been tailored for the Chinese market, and the extended range is not a priority. One of the recent specials that we made, if you want to have a listen to Rupert Mitchell, he is the Chief Strategy Officer of WM Motor. And on this, a couple of Saturdays ago, go and dig it out on evnewsdaily.com. He talks about how long-distance travel in the US is not done in the same way as like road tripping in America. Actually, fast public transport is so good. EVs, I talk about use case all the time, many EVs in China don't have to have that crazy long range because road tripping is done in a different way. It's not. It's done on fast, good, efficient public transport. And so the iX3 is for that market in Europe as well. Can you imagine, if you're BMW, the idea of releasing the iX3 into the US and the inevitable comparisons to the Tesla Model Y, the inevitable comparisons of, oh, it doesn't go as far, and oh, it's not as good. So they've just decided, you know what, even though the X3 is a really popular combustion car in the US, the EV isn't made to fit that market, and currently no plans to sell it there. And I think that is a big disappointment. I think many listeners of this podcast will be a little bit let down by that. Maybe BMW will have a change of heart, change of tune, but I understand it as well because it's the inevitable comparison. 2021 Model Y is on sale. The 7-seat configuration will be coming out next year as well. And so it's inevitably, people will make those comparison videos on YouTube, and car websites will be talking about it as well. And you come back to what the current situation is. The Mercedes-Benz EQC, great car. Audi E-Tron, great car. Jaguar I-Pace, great car. But unless there's a car out there that does more miles than a Tesla, is more efficient, has better software, you'll always get those people going, oh, well, it's not as good as a Tesla. Okay, let's talk about question of the week this week. I'm waving a magic wand and putting a charge point in for you anywhere, anytime, any type of charger that you want. Just tell me, where is it, what is it, and why am I putting it in to fit your particular lifestyle? Email me about anything. hello@evnewsdaily.com is my email address, or you can always leave comments on the YouTube show. ...241 patrons of the podcast keep this show going, and yes, that does mean new premium partners. Thank you very much to all my premium partners. Phil Roberts of Electric Future at EF.Energy, Brad Crosby, thank you Brad, Avid Technology, Bright Smith for Clean Tech Talent, and now Porsche of the Village Cincinnati and Audi of Cincinnati East. If you want to get any of the previous shows, well, they are all in the archive. 718 of those shows. Any reviews that you can do on Apple Podcasts helps me grow the show, and thank you for those that have done that recently. Come and say hi on socials. Have a wonderful day. Catch you soon. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.